This is problem 7-90. Calculate the value of each expression below. Give an exact measurement if possible. Each measure is given in radians. Part A, sine of 4. So although there's no pi in the part in the parentheses, it says it's given in radians. So that 4 really means 4 radians. Now what we did the other day when you cut out your circles and you use the radius of your circle to measure how many times it happened. So we started here and we measured this about was 1 radius worth, right? This was the same as this. That's what makes the angle a radian right here. So that's like 1. We had 2, a little bit more than 3, and a little extra was in the top half. And then 4 is probably around there somewhere. Maybe around here, I'm guessing. So we know it's going to be kind of in the third quadrant, okay? But we haven't talked about, well, what's the sine of 4 radians? We've been talking about pi and pi over 2 and pi over 3 radians. So this is when we're going to use our calculator. And we're going to make sure that it is in radian mode. Alright, so now we're in radians. Yes, it's in radians. So I'm just going to do the best that I can do here. I can't find an exact value. I'm just going to find sine of 4 radians. Negative 0.76, we'll call it, equals negative 0.76. And let's see, does that make sense? So say I'm over here somewhere. Here's my angle, all the way around. So really, here's my angle. And I want the sine. So sine is the distance vertically. So does that make sense that it's negative? Yes, it's below ground. Think of the screamer, it's below ground. So it's negative, that makes sense. Okay, so now let's look at the second one. Sine of 4 pi over 3. So this is given, it's a little more obvious, it's in radians because it has pi in the parentheses. So let's figure out where that is first. Okay, so if I have my circle, here's half of my circle. We know this is pi. I talked about that the other day. So I'm going to cut this into thirds up here as best I can. That's a third. So we know each of these angles, if we're talking about degrees, the whole way, halfway around is 180. So each of these would be 60. Right? 60, 60, 60. Now if I call these are going to be pi over 3 because I divided it into thirds. So this is pi over 3. This would be 2 pi over 3. This is the same as 3 pi over 3. Okay, that would reduce to pi. So now we need to make another thirds down here. So if that's a third, and that's a third, we know this is also 60 degrees. And this would be our fourth pi over a third. So we're going to be down here in the third quadrant of our circle. And we need to find the sine of that. So we need to find the value of this distance right here. We already know it's going to be negative because it's underground, right? Sine is a vertical. So what we're going to do is figure out what kind of triangle this could be. This triangle right here. Right, now what we said before was all these little degrees here were 60 degrees. So I know my triangle, the corner of it, is going to be 60 degrees. So I'm going to just draw that triangle. I'll draw it in blue down here again, a little bit larger. So I know that this angle right here is 60. Okay, that's the same angle right here that we cut up. This was 90, and the last angle is going to have to be a 30-degree angle. Okay? So from geometry last year, and a little bit what we talked about this year, I know the relationship between 30, 60, 90 triangle. I know the side lengths. Across from 30 is going to be a 1. Across from 60 is going to be radical 3. Across from 90 is going to be a 2. Okay? So now I need to look at this. It asks me for the sine of 60 degrees from right here. So sine is talking about my opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? Opposite over hypotenuse. So going from the original relationship of angles and sides that you learned from last year, we're to think about sine being my opposite over my hypotenuse. Okay? So for this one in particular, my opposite of this right here is radical 3. Hypotenuse is worth 2. Now we need to think about, is this true? Is this the right direction? It was down here, so it's going to be negative. Okay, so it's negative radical 3 over 2 is the sine of 4 pi over 3. Okay, so make sure your calculator is in radians. We could calculate this as well, just to make sure. What if I just do negative radical 3 divided by 2, and, oh, oops, try it again, negative radical 3 outside, and then divide by 2. So that's our approximate answer, negative 0.87. Now let's actually type in sine of 4 pi and see if we get the same thing. Okay, checking if our answers are the same. Yep, there we go. Okay, so typing in your calculator to get an approximate answer, but we want getting our exact answer as possible, is going to be this negative radical 3 over 2.